Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone out there in Radio Land. My name is Paul Kalamir. This is your city, your voice, coming to you live. Are you hearing me out there? Is everything okay out there? Your city, your voice, coming to you live from downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, in the studios of 4680Q. Welcome to the show, everyone. Whew, it's a little bit humid out there today. It looks like rain, but it isn't. Had a great air show this morning. Two F-35s flew over the house about 5 times, just roaring, screaming. So if any of you out there were wondering what the heck was going on out there, well, that's what it was. Two F-35s from a air show. They're returning from an air show in New York State somewhere. You want to fly over the falls just to check out the beauty of Niagara Falls. What a beautiful weekend we had this weekend! Unbelievable, so hot. It was refreshing by the pool day on the weekend. That's for sure. At the beach, wherever you decided to go, but it was hot out there this weekend. And this is summer. This is exactly what we've waited for. Enjoy. We only have about 6 more weeks, believe it or not, and then we're back in September. Hard to believe. Summers don't last long. I'll tell you. Seems like winter lasts a lot longer, but it really doesn't either. Maybe 2 months. That's all we really get. Really bad. So, but it looks like it's going to be like this for the next few weeks anyway. The maple tree out front of my house, they predicted a hot, dry summer, and there you go. It's going to be a hot, dry summer, baby. Mother Nature's always right. So, yeah, I mean, summer's, believe it or not, I mean, it's crazy to think it's just winding down. It just seems like it started a couple weeks ago, but yeah, doesn't take long to get out of there. Summer flies. So today is July 14th, and it's a day with meaning for 4680Q. And of course, it's the 1 year anniversary of our mentor, Rick Rose's passing. Yeah, that's right. Last year on July 14th, 2024, Rick Rose passed away. And when I get to this day, I always get, melancholy and just missing the guy because he sat right in the corner over here all the time. Every time I walked in that door, every day he was there, and we had some great conversations and everything else. Through all the shows that I've done here, I've been doing this since 2018, and a couple years off for COVID, of course. But other than that, we've been here doing the shows. This is show number 548 for me. Another 130 shows for Absolutely, and then another 250, 300 shows before that. So closing in on 1,000 if you count everything together. And Rick was a big part of all those. Rick gave everybody a shot. A lot of the people who have shows on 4680Q are here because of Rick. Rick gave him a shot to sit behind the microphone, and some people say it's a sad thing that they did because I get to say things here. I get to say it, but I thank Rick for everything. And of course, Pat Porter took over the station from Rick with a promise to continue the good work that Rick always did. He was a do-gooder for sure. Helped everybody, helped everyone. Not only a great musician, producer, writer, he was also just a good guy. And that's why they named the street after him in Niagara Falls. Right down there, they named part of Queen Street the Rick Rose Way, and we celebrated that, just over a month ago. But I got to tell you a story, and this I tell the story a lot, to be honest with you, because it was pretty touching, from a guy named Andrew, who had we all knew Andrew. I still see him all the time. You might see me on the show waving at, hey Andrew, right? Good guy. But after Rick died, he came up to the door on the studio, and he's rapping on the door. So I open the door, and I go, Andrew, what's up? He goes, I had to tell you something. I got to tell you something. And I go, okay. And he was urgent to tell me something. He wanted to tell me something. I go, what's going on? And he says, well, I got to tell you about a dream I had. And I go, okay, well, that's fine. And he says, I walked into a room, and there was Rick. And he was standing there. And behind him were musicians from the city and all the famous musicians. They're all behind him, and he was standing in front of them. I said, Rick, how you doing? He goes, Andrew, I'm okay. Everything's okay. He goes, what I want you to do is go back and tell everybody But I'm doing fine exactly where I am here because I'm fine. Everything's okay. I just want everybody to know that. And that was the end of the dream. I go, wow, what a touching dream. And I keep telling everybody. I tell a lot of people this story. It's an amazing story, and Andrew was really touched by it. I mean, he was really serious about it, and yeah, and I believe that Rick is fine wherever he is because that's the way he was. He would be fine anywhere he went. He's just that kind of guy. So, Rick, we'll see ya, and thanks for everything, and we'll catch you on the other side. We'll hook up again with everybody, and here we are doing our show, and we thank you for a lot of it. Okay, over to my sponsors. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue, Hamill Machine Company, and Niagara Parks Commission, our latest sponsor. And I just can't say enough about getting your car into Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, being proactive, and making sure your car gets checked out. You know you're going to be going somewhere this summer. That's what summers are made for, traveling around with the wife, with the kids, enjoying yourself. But you don't want to break down. That's the last thing you want to do is break down on the road because it's a bummer. So to make sure you don't have a bummer in the summer, see what I did there? You go see Ken Hunter at Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. He's going to give your car the once over, make sure your brakes are good, make sure everything's working fine, make sure that your air conditioning's working, everything's working satisfactorily. And then he's going to give it the green light, and away you go. And guess what? You're going to have a happy motoring summer, no breakdowns. Ken does the big inspection and makes sure everything's okay. He also has a full body shop. So if you get in a wreck, small or large, take him over there. Big or small, they do it all. And he'll get it back to you in showroom condition. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Oakwood Drive, next to the Kia dealership. Can't go wrong. WildBillsAuto.ca is where you go to see more about Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. And while you're on the internet looking it up, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Come on, let's go, you guys. I looked at my stats. About 50% of the people who watch the video have subscribed. It costs nothing. It helps the algorithm, helps get the show out there. The more people that see the show, the better, right? So you want to get it out there and make sure everybody's watching, tuning in. We got an election coming up. We want to make sure we know who the candidates are, what they're doing, if they're on city council, what their past records are on different things. We want to make sure we know what we're doing so we get the best government that we can vote for in the city. We want the best people running the city. We don't want them wasting our dollars. Costs too much to live today. We can't have city council raising taxes and wasting our money. That's what DOJ is all about, Department of Government Efficiency. So, subscribe to the channel. Give a thumbs up, thumbs down. Leave a comment. We'll discuss the comments. We always do. And that's where we're headed next, to viewer comments. Okay, at 881 Slick, one of our frequent commenters. Thank you, Paul, for bringing awareness to Hutton Avenue. Let's be honest here, almost 20 years of this eyesore. Great question. Where is the bylaw department? They're putting the onus on the handicapped people to make different decisions, difficult decisions about going down the street. In other words, there's a house with about 11 cars or something like that on there. A bunch of cars. They hang over the sidewalk. The guy's always fixing them. It's like a car graveyard right in the middle of a street that, to be honest with you, isn't that wide. It's just double a laneway, basically. You barely fit through there when there's cars parked on the street. Just a small little street that runs between, I believe, somewhere in around Emperor Circle there. Probably, maybe, I can't remember the name of the little streets in there, but Jepson Street and McGlashan or something like that. Anyway, Hutton's. But anyway, it's not a place to have a bunch of cars parked on the street all day and working on cars and junk cars in your driveway, hanging over the sidewalk at times. And the bylaw doesn't show up there to do anything. So people are wondering why not. And that was my question of the day. Why not? Where's bylaw? They seem to be places to give you tickets and everything, but this AMPS program, tickets outside of parking tickets, where are they? when they're needed. They only seem to pick and choose who they're going to bother. But let's hope somebody gets on this and it gets remedied for the people on that street. I know there's a gentleman across the street who's trying to sell his house, and I can't even imagine what he's going to get for it with that across the street. People go to his house to look at it, and they look across the street and say, "Nope, not a chance. There's no way I'm going to deal with that." That's what happens in neighborhoods if you don't clean them up. But if anybody out there has a problem like this, or something to do with bylaws and all that, let me know. Let me know. I'll talk about it, and if I can help you remedy the situation, I will. I'll do everything I can. I mean, I don't have a lot of pull. I don't have a lot to say about anything. I have a lot to say, but I don't have a lot of say. I can only pass the information on. If you're not getting what you deserve, the results that you deserve. I'd be happy to mention it on the show. So let me know if you have a problem, and if I can, I'll help. Thanks for that comment there, at 881 Slick. Thank you very much. Enjoy the comments. I saw another biker got killed, and I'm going like, man, oh man, that's like 5 bikers in the last week that have been killed. The last couple weeks anyway. And I'm going, what the hell's going on out there? I mean, I had a bike at one time, and I got rid of it because it was just too stressful in the city. And since I did that, it's gotten worse. Five motorcyclists killed in the last couple weeks anyway, and it's just crazy. We have way too many people driving around that don't know what the hell they're doing. You have these delivery vans for Amazon and everything else just screaming around neighborhoods and that, jamming on their brakes, just beaching their cars in the street. And on main streets too. Like yesterday, I had a guy doing that on Morrison Street. Just beached it, man. Just stopped it, opened his door up. He's lucky he didn't get his door taken out by the guy ahead of me, and just jumped out and ran to the house. This is the way they drive. It's ridiculous. Then you've got the older people who aren't really great drivers, don't use signals and all that. A lot of people don't use signals. You have a lot of people who don't understand the language. I don't know how they got licenses, but they have. They're brutal drivers. Like you say, you got the old people, like me. I don't even like driving, to be honest with you. If I could afford a driver, I wouldn't even drive anymore. You got tourists in this city that are clueless. They don't know where the hell they're going. They're cutting you off and moving around. You go down the QEW on Robert Street towards Toronto, and they're in the Fort Erie lane, the Dorchester Road lane. They're everywhere, and they just cut across 5 lanes. It's ridiculous. Or jam on their brakes. I mean, you got to really be careful. People without licenses, a lot of people driving around without licenses. Don't ask me how. They don't have license. They don't have insurance, so they seem to drive around. And of course, Subaru drivers, they're the scourge of humanity. The worst drivers. If I see a Subaru, I stay clear. There's going to be a stunt pulled on you. But folks, I drive a mile here every day, a mile to the studio from my house to do the show. And it just, I just am sick of these people who don't signal, who turn in front of you. They're in the right lane. They just swing out and go right in front of you, make a left out of that lane. They just don't pay attention. They're on their phones. You name it, distracted driving. You got all these people on bicycles and these scooters and whatever hell else. A lot of them are riding bicycles against traffic instead of with traffic. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable in this city. And no signals, of course. Signals are outlawed, I guess. Nobody uses them. But you wonder why these bike guys are getting crushed, these motorcycle guys. Now, granted, there are a lot of guys on bikes. You can't blame the drivers all the time. There are a lot of guys on bikes who have these crotch rockets, super fast bikes, and they crack them open and away they go, doing wheelies and everything else. And a lot of times they're speeding around town too, in between traffic, looking for trouble, and they get it. A lot of times they do get it. But my point is, be careful out there. Pay attention to the road and the traffic around you, especially if you're on a bike, because there's no forgiveness. Going down on a bike is not fun. You lose every battle with a car. So you've got to be extra careful if you're on a bike. Look at everybody like Mad Max. They're coming out to get you. They don't stop at stop signs. They're coming to get you. They'll turn right in front of you. They don't even see you. It's amazing. It's amazing. And people aren't paying attention when they're driving anymore. I don't know. Maybe the cars have become so autonomous that they don't feel they have to pay attention. There's warnings, there's lights, there's this, there's that. I don't know. But there's no forgiveness on a bike. So, you know, the car drivers aren't paying attention. You have to. So keep the rubber side down, the shiny side up. My biker friends, be safe out there. Be extra careful, especially in Niagara Falls. Believe me. That's a public service announcement, really. But I was really astounded at the number of bikers that have been killed already this summer. We still got a long time to go. I gotta talk about a shout out to Michael's Restaurant in Niagara Falls, New York, which burned down yesterday. There was a fire at Michael's Restaurant on Pine Street, on Pine Avenue. It's Pine Avenue. It runs the same as Ferry and Walnut. Pine Avenue. Or is it Ferry Street? I don't know. I never get them straight. Sorry about that, my American friends. Pine Street or Pine Avenue? Ferry Street? I think it's Pine Street. I was right the first time. Should never second guess myself. But regardless, Michael's Restaurant, that was right next to La Hacienda over there, burned down over the weekend. And the reason I mention it, I don't usually talk about fires unless they're the ones in Niagara Falls out of these old buildings, is that, man, that was a mainstay for us when we were younger. I've been there so many times after a night at the bakery or one of the other bars. You go in there at 2 in the morning, have some rigatoni, and I mean, you could only have a half plate. They gave you so much. The servings were huge, and the food was so good. It was an icon in Niagara Falls, New York. Everybody went there. So many Canadians went there. And right now, really, it's one of the few staples left of Little Italy in Niagara Falls, New York, which ran from basically Portage Road all the way to Hyde Park over there. There's so many different restaurants there that were so good. Club Joey, Pete's Market, Como, Crown and Anchor. I could go through them all. They're all really, really good restaurants that we used to go over to all the time. And Michael's was one of the mainstays there. That was one of the places you had to go, like the Hacienda. But yeah, gone. Cuomo's is gone. They sold it. It's gone. I heard it's going to be a mosque. I can't believe it. But hey, who knows? Sad day for Canadians. They used to frequent it there. And Americans who made Michael's a weekly stop for great Italian food. I mean, everybody's hoping that they reopen, but, they were up for sale, I heard. The reality of Niagara Falls, New York is that's a tough go, and the effort may not be worth it to reopen again and redo it. And La Hacienda is up for sale as far as that goes, I heard as well. Good luck to the family that ran it. They were fantastic. They made great food. They gave you your money's worth when you walked in there, and it was never really, really expensive. That restaurant is going to be missed. Can't believe it burned down, but there you go. It did. Fly over to Welland before I get to my second sponsor. Story out of Welland regarding the homeless shelter is making the news. And we talk a lot about the homeless and homelessness and everything else. And I'm always totally saying that everything that we've tried for the last, say, 20 years or so hasn't worked. The situation's getting worse all the time. So that tells me we have to try something new. So Welland's trying something new, and it's like a homeless shelter on Ontario Road, where there's a bunch of single units in there that the homeless can go to. They're all in one area, so they can get the treatment they need for whatever their problem is, whether it's addiction or mental health or whatever. And I keep saying this is the way we've got to go. We've got to get these homeless people in one area so they can get help. It's impossible to run around the city looking for all these encampments. They're everywhere. And if you move them out of one area, they just go to another area. So you got to have a place where they're all together, and it's not to segregate them or anything like that. It's just to be in one place where they can be found and helped if they indeed want help over a period of time. It's a great idea in Welland rather than having them spread all over the city. But the problem with this one is it's in by residential neighborhoods. And that is a no-no. That is a problem because well, we see what's going on Summer Street with the Coronation Center, with that transient home or whatever it's called there, the region open. It's they're into the neighborhoods, they're causing trouble, and the neighbors were at city council not that long ago talking about it and saying you got to help us here. This is terrible. Now we haven't heard anything back from any of them about it, but they're there making their case, and I felt sorry for the people. You have these people breaking into their place, flopping on the front lawn, needles and everything else that goes along with the homeless, causing problems. I mean, they've had to put barricades up across on some of the houses around there that are empty, abandoned, because they'd be in there and flopping on those porches. The little apartment building has a big gate across the front because they don't want them in there causing trouble. I mean, it's just a great idea, but it's got to be in the right place. And Welland's finding it out, just like we found out from Coronation Center. So a lot of people showed up at council complaining about the shelter, and it's brought theft, assault, drug use, used needles, threats to the area, threats to the people. And, of course, the nearby residents are not going to be happy with this. Why would they be? You talk about NIMBY, not in my backyard, but come on. This is a case of really, it's got to be away from people because these people are transients, they're gypsies, they're all over the place. Like even if you put them in a kind of compound, they're not going to stay there. You can't force them to stay there. They can leave. Now, if they try to sleep in a doorway or throw up a tent, you can take them back there, but you can't lock them up like animals and make them stay there. You just want to give them a place they can crash, maybe have get cleaned up, and have something to eat or whatever. And you have your public service workers, the people who are there for mental health and drug abuse, there to help them as well. They can treat them there, they can help them there. Now, 25 of the people that were in this housing project moved out to permanent housing, um, with 70% of the people still sitting there. Well, actually, 75% still sitting there and taking advantage of and I don't mean taking advantage of people. I mean taking advantage that they have a place to stay now, so they have a place to crash, right? And so 75% are still there. 30% or 25% have moved out, which is good. It's better than zero moving out, and there's some of them are on their own now, which is what you want. You want to transition them. And that's kind of why we opened the Wayne Campbell Center on Armory in Victoria to kind of help that happen. Now, this right here is what's needed in Niagara Falls, and with a bylaw to prevent people from camping out anywhere else. So, if they decide to throw up a tent in the meteor crater, it's taken down and they're moved. They're taken directly to wherever this housing project will be, and they're put in there. And we need a lot of that to deal with these people. And if they fight or don't want to go, they get arrested for vagrancy, and then they're thrown into jail. And they have two choices: to go to get treatment or to spend time in jail. Whatever they want, either way. And I think that's where this has got to go. When encampments pop up, tear them down, move the people to this area where they're welcome and they can get help. That's the way you got to do it. And they've been doing the same thing for 20 years. It hasn't been working. The situation is getting worse all the time. So they've got to come up with a new solution to it. And this is the one that I think has a shot at working. You can get all the people they need to get help from there. They know where they are. They don't have to search around the city for them. People aren't never dying on the street because they have a place where they can go and there's other people watching them all the time. And I think it's worth a try. we need the city cleaned up, and we have to take a first step. And Welland's taking the first step, and they're trying it out. And yes, it's on Ontario Road, and yes, there's people that live around it, so it's tough. But I'm certain in Niagara Falls we can find a piece of property that's remote enough from housing, that we could put people and give them a place to stay, a place to rest their head at night, a place to stay warm in the winter and cool in the summer, a place to clean up, the basic dignities of life, and then have people there right on site to help them get through this and recover from whatever the problem is they have, and get them back into society the way they should be, where they probably a lot of them want to go, but they just can't get off the stuff, or they're just not with it enough to do it. They need help. Okay, over to my second sponsor, Pizza on Victoria Avenue. And you always like a nice piece of pizza. Who doesn't like pizza? Everybody likes pizza. It's only a matter of where you're going to get it from. And when I look for a good pizza, the first thing I look for is consistency. Is it good all the time, or is it hit and miss? One time it's really good, the next time it's really bad. I like consistency. I know what I'm going to get. And I also like good sauce and good crust. And the Massini family recipe brings that to the table at Pete's Pizza. That's right. They use that family recipe that's been around for 40 years, tried and true. And they know how to mix it in the right ratio with good Saputo mozzarella and brick cheese with the sauce on the pizza. So you don't have too much sauce or too much pizza. It's that perfect blend, that perfect ratio. Then you add fresh toppings like pepperoni and mushrooms and black olives and onions and bacon crumble. You add the toppings that you like, green peppers, hot peppers, you name it, they've got them all. And you've got yourself a piece of art. A good pizza making is an art. There's a lot more bad ones than good ones. So when you find one, you got to take advantage of it. Pete's Pizza, Victoria Avenue, 905-374-2222. Give them a call. Get your pizza today. You can order on their website, petespizzavictoria.ca, Dine, Skip. They're all there to help you out. They get a fresh pizza to you as fast as possible so you get it hot and you can enjoy your pizza. Tell them Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you. Rex or Mike over there, tell them I sent you. They'll be happy to hear that, and they're great guys. They know how to make a pizza, and they're going to take care of you. Please support our sponsors because they support the show. They support the city. They're good corporate citizens. So, over to this Air India crash again. There's a preliminary report that came out over the weekend. And the report didn't surprise me. Let me put it that way, because I've been saying this for the last couple weeks since it happened. From the report, it says the aircraft achieved the maximum recorded airspeed of 180 knots, nose IAS at about 08:08:42, and immediately thereafter, the engine 1 and 2 fuel cutoff switches transitioned from run to cutoff position. Okay? They were turned off, one after the other. The engine N1 and N2 began to decrease from their takeoff values as the fuel supply to the engines was cut off. So when it all happened and I watched everything, I said that the questions were coming down to the engines and why the engines shut off. And everybody's pointing to pilot error and that kind of thing, as far as the flaps go and that kind of thing. But the engines, they just don't fail. Two engines just don't fail. There's no evidence of a bird strike. No evidence. I mean, they were talking about airlocks and vapor locks and stuff, but these planes fly in Phoenix, Arizona, 120 degrees. There's no vapor locks and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a possibility, but I say it didn't seem likely. And now we find out the fuel supplies were shut off. Pilot error. And these fuel supplies aren't just you could hit them with your arm. First of all, they have two little things like this at the side of them, so you can't bump into them while you're hitting other things. And then it's a deliberate action where you have to pull them up and flip them down. So you got to grab them with three fingers to pull them up, and then you got to pull them back. So it's a deliberate action. You got to do this. It can't happen by accident. So one of the captains shut them off. And the other one said, "Why'd you shut them off?" And he said, "I didn't." So this is the mystery. This is the mystery right here. And when I heard about this, I'm going, I guarantee you, this is the first thing I said, that the FBI, the CIA, the Indian secret police, whatever they're called, they're all looking into these pilots. But we never heard anything about the pilots. And a lot of the podcasts that I watch are by pilots. They know the planes, they know how they fly, and everything else. But pilots, as a group, like any other kind of group, a union, a group, don't like to blame their own for these accidents. And I don't blame them. I mean, the last thing I'd want to point at is the pilots doing something nefarious, right? That's the last thing you'd want to think. Like, what pilots are there, they're flying planes. Their job is to fly that plane and get you safely from A to B. It would take a real sick mind to violate that trust that people put in, millions of people per day put in pilots flying these planes. Because let's face it, they're in control. At any time they could do whatever they wanted, crash those planes. But no, they didn't. And they don't for the most part. But when you see something like this, you've got to question the pilots. Now, one of these pilots shut these fuel valves off, and they did it at a critical time. Not when they were 10,000 feet up, where if the other pilot saw they were off, could flick them back on, the engine would restart in 10 seconds or 15 seconds, and they'd have time to recover from them being shut off. No, this was at a time when there was no chance for recovery. This plane was going down as soon as those were shut off. That's the bottom line. So why would somebody do this? Why would somebody sabotage the flight and crash it, killing not only themselves but everybody aboard? And that's the one thing that nobody can answer because they're not here, the pilots. So the only thing you can do is go through their past history. Who are they? What were they doing? What were they involved in? Why would they do something like this? Were they having problems at home? Was there some kind of mental stress? They were tested before they got on the plane. They weren't drunk or anything. So this is now the question. And I mean, Boeing, of course, is not off the hook yet. You think they'd be off the hook? Pilot error had nothing to do with our plane, no systems, but a lot of these systems are automated and they're run by computer. And is there the possibility that the system failed and shut those switches off? I don't believe there is. I don't think there is. I just don't see it happening. And but they certainly have to look at that because these planes do have a lot of automatic systems that do stuff. But I don't think we programmed into these to shut these switches off. And if it was, there would have to be a certain set of circumstances if they were going to automate that. Like the engines were on fire, it might click off. But I've never heard of that. I think that the pilots would shut them down automatically. They'd shut down the engine that's on fire or having problems, and then hit all the engines have fire suppressants on them, so fire suppression systems that they would hit. But at the end of the day, this is what happened. And over the next while, we're going to find out exactly why, who these people were. And I'm surprised that they haven't released anything on the pilots at all, which was weird to me. I said that a couple weeks ago. Like, we haven't heard anything about these pilots. Who were they? What were they? What were they doing? Who were they involved with? So I think it's going to come down to not even pilot error by accident. It's going to come down to sabotage. I can't see any other reason a pilot would shut both engines off 600 feet in the air, knowing that doing this would crash that plane and kill everybody. I mean, they know it. You know it. If there's no fuel, the plane's got to go down. It can't recover at 600 feet. Pilots know this is what they do for a living. The pilot who shut them off knew this was a critical piece of staying up in the air. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out, and we're going to find out which one shut off the fuel. Because one of them shut off the fuel. They don't know which one yet, or they haven't told us which one yet, but one did. And not only that, if they suspected the plane shut the fuel off themselves. I think they would ground every 787 until they can get an answer for why the plane did that. And they haven't grounded any planes yet. I would say that would be a critical thing that you would ground planes for. That the fuel systems just get shut off just out of the blue. They just shut them off. Yeah, that's not something. That's serious stuff. And I think that right away they would keep them on the ground until they figured it out, especially after that crash. So I don't see that. I see one of the pilots doing it. It doesn't seem like it could be an accident because of the moves that you got to make to shut it off. So if it's not an accident, there's only one thing it could be. It was done on purpose for whatever reason. We're going to find out. But as we know, these planes are meant to fly. They're not meant to crash. They're designed to fly. You have to try to crash them unless there's a major breakdown in the systems in that. And really, a lot of times, if you watch any of these flying things about crashes, a lot of times it's pilot error. And things happen so fast. Like, we're talking this plane 30 seconds from the time it took off to the time it crashed. I mean, we're not talking, big time here. Rolled down the runway, rotated, went up, was climbing. That probably took 15 seconds, 10 or 15 seconds, which means everything else happened in 15 seconds. And that's why you couldn't recover from the fuel being shut off. So it happens very fast in these planes. And there was just no way to save this one once they were turned off. Whoever did it knew that. Why they did it is the other question. Why they would intentionally shut off the fuel at a critical time when they knew recovery was impossible is the question of the day right now. And if it was Boeing, if it was their systems, because right away when something like that happens, they get into a simulator and they replicate exactly what happened. So they would be in a simulator already, taking it up 600 feet, and then somebody would shut the fuel off, and then they try to restart them, and that plane would crash before they could spool up and get going again with enough thrust to keep them in the air. So they've already tried this. They have. And Boeing, there's no record of any kind of a fault that this would happen out of the blue. So I would say most likely that at this point in time, they're looking at the pilots very carefully, and we're going to hear more about that. I also want to know who's on the plane. Who was on that plane? Were there government officials? They haven't said much about the manifest, other than the guy who escaped somehow miraculously managed to live through all this, came walking out like a Sunday afternoon at the park on his phone. So I'd like to know who's on there, because who's on these planes makes the case even weirder. Be honest with you. And we got to look at the one who walked away from the crash. What was he? What happened there? So that's it. That's basically it. I mean, we're going to hear more, but at the end of the day, it looks like the pilot shut him off. And of course, they couldn't be restarted at that late, and they went right into a medical building, and that was that. So call me a conspiracy theory guy, but there's something not right with this whole thing. Something not right with this whole thing. So over to my third sponsor, Hamel Machine Company. And of course, Hamel Machine's been around since 1948. And when you look at industry moving to any city, the first thing they want to know is, do you have machine shops that can help me out if I get in a jam? Because time is money. Machine shops are needed to keep industry moving. When anything breaks down, the first thing they look for is a good machine shop. Can you fix this for me? Can you re-engineer this if you can't fix it? And Hamel Machine takes it one step further. They don't just re-engineer, they re-engineer better. So production is better. Time is money. It's fantastic. And today, with just-in-time inventory, they don't keep a lot of inventory of extra parts in storage because it costs too much money. So what they do is they order it and they get it shipped in from Germany, Taiwan, China, Vietnam, wherever these parts are made. And these days, because of technology, they're made all over the world. They're not just made in the United States or Canada or Britain or Germany or something. They're made all over the world. So a lot of these plants, these companies, they can't wait. They're down for a long time, and time costs money. Time is money these days. So they go to Hamel Machine Shop, who re-engineers them or fixes them and gets them going again right away. But Hamel has not forgot us little guys. No, you need something done at home, something you need made, something metal you broke, something you need machined, something you need repaired. They can do it. They can do it. You share a pin on your snowblower, take it there. They'll fix it for you. Put a new pin in and get it all going for you. A1, number one. That's what they do at Hamel Machine Shop, not only for big industry, small industry, the wine industry, richest products, the region, the city. They work for everybody, and they make sure that everything's running smooth. That's what they do. Hamel Machine Company since 1948. Go to their website, hamelmachine.ca. You'll see all the beautiful work they do. And I ask you to support our sponsors because they support the show and they support the city. Thank you very much. Okay, so big trouble this weekend, we heard, between the Department of Justice and FBI in the United States, with Attorney General Pam Bondi saying there are no files to be released for Epstein. Now, that didn't sit well with Dan Bongino and Patel. And the reason is because they've been telling people all along that there's something there. That's what they've been waiting for, this to be released. And now they've had to come out and say, well, there's nothing on the list. That's why they weren't released. But they can't do it. They can't do it. They know there's something there, so they're threatening to walk. And Pam Bondi came out and said, I've got the file on my desk with the names. And when she didn't release it, oh, there's no names on there. I mean, we know that's baloney because there's somebody doing time for 20 years. Ghislaine Maxwell's doing time because of the names on that list. And her procuring young girls for sex. So we know that she's in there for a reason. There's got to be names on those lists. Now you got to ask why. Why is Pam Bondi withholding these names? And well, Cash Patel and Bongino can do it. They can't. The Department of Justice runs the FBI, so they do what the Department of Justice tells them to do. It looks to me like a immense cover-up. Well, there's been a couple other things that have come down the pipe over the weekend as we delve more into this. And you know that if Bondi withheld the list, it was under Trump's direction. She didn't make that decision herself. So what are they hiding? I mean, a lot of people say it's because Trump is involved, but no, that doesn't fly. That doesn't fly because the Democrats would have used it against them the minute they saw his name on there. So his name's not on there doing anything nefarious. It might be on the list as he took a flight somewhere, but not for anything bad. And I thought on the weekend there might be some announcement from Bondi that she was going to step down or something. But I have to look now and say, I don't know if that's going to happen. Not just because Bondi's one of Trump's favorites. I think it's more because there's something else going on in the background. They're not ready to tell you what's going on in the background, but there's something bigger going on in the background. Look at this person dumping all kinds of crap in the meteor crater. Look at liquids, pouring it out of something, maybe grease. Who knows what it is? Just dumping it in the weeds at the. Look at that. Yeah, dumping it in the weeds in the meteor crater. What's the difference? It's polluted anyway. So I'm not sure that they're ever gonna get Bondi and throw her out for this. I think there's something coming out, and we're just gonna have to wait for it. There's something more to it. And a post on Truth Social by Trump gives a different view of the whole Epstein debacle as it stands right now. That's playing out that MAGA adherents are mad about. You got to remember that you don't want to be getting MAGA people mad because of transparency, that you didn't release this stuff. Because there's the midterms coming up. And if the Republicans don't win the midterms and they lose the House, maybe the Senate, then what Trump's last 3 years are going to turn into is going to be an impeachment. One big impeachment. They're going to be impeaching him every 10 minutes, like they did before. It's going to be the very same thing. Nothing's going to get done. It's going to be a shite show. So the last thing they want to do is alienate any MAGA members and then lose those midterms. So Trump released a statement on Truth Social, and he said the following: that the whole Epstein affair is a setup, not of a setup of Epstein, but of all MAGA people by the deep state, just like the Steele dossier was the left trying to set Trump up. All staged, all faked. They proved it. And they're doing the same thing with this Epstein case. MAGA proponents are being led down a path of chasing ghosts and turning on itself. And you see that with people like Bondi Patel and Bongino insisting there's nothing in the files and that Epstein did indeed kill himself, while MAGA adherents insist that Bondi should be let go for not releasing the files. They want to see them. That's evident. But Trump says they're fake anyway. It doesn't matter. Whatever's in them is fake. Just like the Steele dossier. Trump calls for Bongino Patel and grassroots MAGA people quit falling for this left-wing bait. Same tactics, same machinery. It's all just a continuation of the deep state black ops. It all started with Biden, and they're pushing the narrative to try and destroy MAGA, to have them fighting amongst themselves. MAGA against MAGA, using the Epstein files as their tool to do that. Trump's telling his own movement to let it go, move on to more important things than these scandals, like voter fraud, ActBlue, the Democratic fundraising tool that accepts and disperses fraudulent donations to election campaigns, and the 2020 election steal. To be able to keep everybody in power, you need to get elected, and these violations of the Election Act, voter fraud is what he's talking about, are things that should be concentrated on, not on Epstein. He's irrelevant. Another interesting part of the Truth Social post is something that Megyn Kelly was hinting at and something that many people suspect right now. Trump calls Epstein the guy who never dies. And it's really not when he calls him the man who don't die or guy who never dies, isn't just a random thought coming out of Trump's head. He says, I can't tell you how I know, but I can tell you that for a fact, we're going to hear a lot more about Jeffrey Epstein in the coming year, and you might even be hearing from him directly. Wow, what a statement. Is Epstein alive? Is that what he's saying? And that's been suspected by a lot of people, hinted at by Megyn Kelly, and now hinted at by the president. Is Epstein still alive? Did he really commit suicide? Did he really die in that prison? Was his apparent suicide really an intelligence managed exile? Said he died. They hustled him out of there and put him away. And there is proof that he was an agent for the Mossad and most likely CIA. And Maxwell was the connection to her father, who was Mossad. Now, is Trump stalling on this release because the plan isn't to release the file, but to release Epstein himself when the moment is right? And I said before, I always thought there's a reason that Trump isn't releasing those files as promised. He didn't know what to do with them, maybe, but there's got to be a reason he won't, because he campaigned on this and he campaigned on transparency, and this is neither one of those two. Trump implied the deep state created the files, that they're fake. He doesn't want the allies or MAGA supporters to fall into that trap. He appears to be rattled by it all, not knowing exactly what to do, and is stalling because there's something else going on in the background. That's what it seems to be. So, is this the biggest cover up since 9/11? Since Kennedy? Or is it getting people ready for the appearance of Jeffrey Epstein himself? Who knows? You got to stay tuned. Because the plot is thickening after I read all that. It's thickening for me anyway. I have to think Bondi Patel and Bongino are now on the Trump line of thinking, and they're going to hold that line until all is revealed, so they're not going anywhere. I've changed my mind on Bondi. I think they've all been talked to, and they understand what's going on now. So just basically watch these three pieces, Bondi Patel and Bongino. Watch them. See where they go. See what they do. If they all stick around, you know something big is going to happen with the Epstein affair. So that's where we're at now. It's a wild times at Ridgemont High. I mean, I'm telling you, it's crazy, but it's happening in real time. We're witnessing this. We're witnessing history every day here with the wars, with this kind of stuff, with everything. It's a wacky world we live in. A lot of sleight of hand, a lot of AI, a lot of falsies, false images, falsies, they call them. And this is just perhaps one of them, and a big one at that. So what do you think? Let me know in your comments. Let me know in your comments what's going on here. This is what I hear from many sources, not just from one. And a lot of them are pointing to the same thing, as odd as that seems. Okay, let's get to my fourth sponsor, Niagara Parks Commission. Now, you know, in Niagara Falls, we have 32 miles of beautiful parkland that's kept beautiful by the Niagara Parks Commission. And in the center of it all, between Fort Erie and Niagara-on-the-Lake, is the beautiful falls, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. Millions of people come to see it every year. But you know what? The guys who live here, we don't really go down and experience it. As crazy as that sounds. And when I do go down there, and I'm guilty of it too, I can hear the falls from my front porch at night. But I never go down there because it's a tourist area and everything else and that kind of thing. But we really miss out on it because when I have to go down there, somebody comes from out of town, you want to take them to see the falls. It's amazing. It's breathtaking, and I can see why people who are coming here enjoy the city so much, and not just for the falls. You look at them, you see them, you take in the wonder, and then you go, okay, what's there to do? Well, that's where the Niagara Parks Commission comes in. There's lots to do down there, from butterfly conservatories to zip lines to renovated power stations that allow you to go in. They're not working for as power stations anymore, but they do allow you to go down and take a tour of them and go through the tunnels that go right to the brink of the falls, the wastewater tunnels. They have a school of horticulture. They have the Great Gorge Trip, the Gorge Walk down here. You can stand beside Grade 6 rapids. So dangerous, they won't even let boats in them. You can go down to the whirlpool and see the big whirlpool going around in a circle headed to Lake Ontario. Spanish Aero Car, the Glen. There's so many different attractions that the Niagara Parks Commissions run that are just fantastic. And I guarantee you that when tourists come here, they're just blown away by what's there. And us in, Niagara Falls, we're here. We don't think anything of it. It's just there. It's always been there. It always will be there for our lifetime. So come on down, enjoy it. People in town, get down there. They offer a parking pass for the season. $50, you can park at all their lots. And some of them are $36 a day in the summer. You can park there anytime you want and go see the falls, go walking, take a walk down the trails. They run right from Niagara Lake right to Fort Erie. Ride your bike, have a good time down the parks. Some of the most scenic walkways in the world are right there, a mile away from where I'm sitting. Maybe not even that. There you go. Niagara Parks Commission, the custodians of all this beauty with attractions for you. And attractions passes. You can buy a pass for one low price. You get to go on all the attractions. All you have to do is go to niagaraparks.ca to see everything they have to offer and then take advantage of it. I'm guilty. I don't, but I should. Anybody who comes into town, enjoy the Niagara Parks Commission and all their attractions. If you don't, you're crazy. You're missing out on something truly spectacular. NiagaraParks.com, that's where you go. See everything they got to offer. What can I tell you? You got to do it. Just do it. And thank you for supporting our sponsors. They support the show and they support the city, of course. Okay, let's go over to New York City for a minute. And you're wondering, why am I all over the place in the United States and everywhere else? Well, because really, there's not a lot of news in Niagara Falls right now. Actually, it's been pretty quiet. But in Niagara Falls, or in New York City, that big mouth AOC, they're in big trouble. First, she could be arrested for citing and abetting illegals, showing them on how to dodge ICE and stay in the country illegally. That's treasonous behavior. She could be charged with that. But now she's doubled down by calling Trump on X the rapist leader. Now, if you remember, ABC's George Stephanopoulos, they were sued by Trump for saying the same thing, calling him a rapist. And he won a $15 million lawsuit against them for their libelous statement. Now, don't think for a second AOC is immune to the same lawsuit, especially on X, where she put it publicly, called him a rapist leader. And there's precedent. So it'd be a quick trial. The bartender with nothing, who amassed $22 million of net worth in 6 years in Congress, and that's going to be investigated as well. They're investigating these people who have large sums of money that made $174,000 a year as a congressperson. How do you go from being a bartender making minimum wage to getting elected and making $174,000 a year, and then having $22 million in your bank account? Something's not right. And she also just got caught making the payments on her brand new Mercedes out of some, I don't know. She declared it on her as an expense on her expense account, which she's not allowed to do. So she could be in trouble for that. But it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. She's done so many different things, and especially with the illegals now that ICE is coming to New York City cleaning it out. So, at the end of the day, AOC could be doing hard time in Sing Sing. You might catch her on Rikers Island. I don't know. But I think they're going to go after her. She's not getting away with this. These guys are not getting away with this. I'll tell you that right now. So, my last story before I leave today, it's coming up on 1 o'clock, is truly the bizarro world we're living in. This is the bizarro world we're living in. Over to France. And the president, Emmanuel Macron, and his husband, Brigitte Macron, are under the gun. A 4-hour video made by a psychic and blogger that claimed Brigitte was a man that transitioned to a woman, and that was on YouTube, had a defamation suit launched against it by Brigitte Macron. The first trial led to a guilty verdict, and they were fined, these two, but they appealed it and brought forth evidence so that on July 10th, 2025, a few short days ago, a Paris Court of Appeal acquitted Natasha Ray and Amandine Roy of the charges. So the two that were fined and found guilty of defamation had that charge overturned in the Court of Appeals. And the court said the two women accused can continue to say she's a man. Brigitte Macron is a man. And at the end of the day, Macron can fix this real quick. Just do a DNA test. So, prove it. Prove that you're a woman. But she won't. Or he won't. And we saw a video of them both getting off a plane, and then this Brigitte Macron hammered the president with a right hook, right to the jaw. Did you see that? It's all on camera. Not really normal behavior. Yeah, he's coming off his presidential plane. Out of nowhere comes this right hook and catches him, bang, right on the jaw. Now, this whole relationship between Macron and his husband, Brigitte, is weird. Now, this Brigitte was a 40-year-old drama teacher. And Macron was a 15-year-old student in her class. No, this her being a transition man. Started dating her at 15 years old. So this Emmanuel Macron, the president of France right now, is 15 years old when he met this 40-year-old transgendered person, and they started dating. And he ended up marrying her. She's 72 now. He's 47. 25-year difference. Now, they claim that it actually only became romantic once he turned 18. Yeah, and if you believe that, I got swampland in Florida. Right by Alligator Alley, by the way. Now, in most cases, if he would have been charged, this Brigitte Macron would have been charged with shagging a minor, or whatever the charge would be in France. I mean, a 40-year-old man with a 15-year-old woman, for sure, the man would have been in big trouble. Right? But the other way around there in France, it wasn't. And that's the weird part of the whole thing. That's weird. So Candace Owen got in on this and said, yeah, she's a man. That's not a woman. That's a man, baby. So she made $100,000 bet with Pierce Morgan about Brigitte Macron being a man. And Morgan, now that this appeal went through and they said, yeah, she's a man, you can say she's a man because there's no proof she isn't. He says, I want my money. 100,000 pounds is $150,000 US. And she's saying, Pierce, pay me my money. Now, Pierce is saying that the only proof that Bridget Macron is a woman is her saying she's a woman. There's no other proof. But there's tons of proof that she was living as a man when she was young, before becoming Bridget. And the equivalent of the case launched against the journalism, the psychic and the journalist, is positive proof. She's a man. Always has been, always will be. So there's that battle going on. So here we go. Is Pierce going to pay up? Well, his response to all this was, we only have your word that you're a woman. As for your ludicrous and very hurtful to her and her family claims about Bridget Macron's biology, today's court ruling, as you know, is irrelevant. So let's double up. Let's make it £300,000 if you can afford it. So he's not going to pay. He's doubling down on the fact that he believes Bridget is a woman. We have a totally wacky world, and unfortunately, we're part of it. It's nuts. It's crazy. What a wacky, wacky situation over there. Nuts. And there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of these important men who are married to transgenders. There's a lot of them. We don't know about them. They're starting to be revealed, but there's a lot of them. You'd be shocked probably at people who are transgender that are married to very famous people. Anyway, I'm getting out of here. Tomorrow's Trash Talk Tuesday, and who knows what we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about something, see what's in the news. A lot of stuff going on in the world right now. Too much to talk about, actually. Next city council meeting is in a couple weeks, so we won't have to worry about that. But we'll be doing that. I get messages and emails all day from people telling me what's going on, so we'll be talking more about that. And regardless, I'll be here at noon, and we'll see what comes up. Promises made, promises kept. Here at noon, Paul K. Lemire, your city, your voice. Studios of 4680Q Radio, downtown Niagara Falls, right across from the Pollinator Meteor Crater. I'm going to get out of here. God bless you all. And please don't forget to support our sponsors. Help them out because they help us out at the show, and they're good corporate citizens. Well, Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue, Hamill Machine Company, and Niagara Parks Commission. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the weather. It's a hot one out there. Grab a cool drink, shady tree, a book, and enjoy your afternoon. Take care. We'll see you later.